race 6 of the season for the Prototype Cup Germany. We are at the Hockenheimring for the 6th race of the season as we approach the halfway point of the season. So as the cars currently are heading their way towards the grid on their formation lap, it is race 1 of the weekend. It is 3 races this weekend for the Prototype Cup Germany as a result of the first round having been cancelled at Spa-Francorchamps back in April. And we are having 3 races this weekend. So the cars are now currently just out on circuit. You can see them on their formation lap as we get ready to go racing here this weekend. And as you can see, it is Julian Apostolos after a great qualifying yesterday afternoon who lines up on pole position in the BWT Muka Motorsport, the number 8 Duqueine D08. Marcus Pommer will be starting alongside him for Gebhardt Motorsport. On row 2, Keanu Alazari, the driver who was so strong at Zandvoort last time out. He led so much of the first race, but for a safety car which saw that lead reduced to nothing. And then in race 2, despite another safety car, he was able to bring it home into the top spot and take his first ever win. On the second row, on the outside of him, is Danny Sufi for Conrad Motorsport. Then Jakob Elbacker, another of the Gebhardt Motorsport cars with the anti-Ramo car being with MRS GT Racing lining up 6th on the grid. Then it's Sven Bart and Klaus Abelin on row 4 with newcomer Luca Link. It's great to welcome Data Lab Sports with Rinaldi Racing back to the grid of Prototype Cup Germany here for this, and it is the 3rd season of the Prototype Cup Germany, organised by the ADAC in partnership with Creventic. So as you can see, the cars are out on their formation lap and we are missing the number 70 car. So Marcus Pommer, who's not taken to that front row position. So the defending champion not on the grid. It means it's an easy start for Julian Apostolos as he leads the field into turn 1. Keanu Alazari in that second place, slotting in behind. But Julian Apostolos, well, we thought he was going to have Marcus Pommer alongside him as he crossed the line, but the number 70 car is missing, and it is Julian Apostolos who leads the way. Danny Sufi in the number 2 car there as well, fighting for position. So in this, a race that is 55 minutes plus 1 lap with a mandatory pit stop, and for some of the drivers, a driver change that will be required as well. So Julian Apostolos leading the way. So we're just going to listen to the cars as they circulate around. Just listen to the roar of those mighty engines as they circulate around this circuit. And let's just have a few moments just to listen to the roar of those cars. So, hope you're enjoying the sound of these cars around the Hockenheimring. It is Julian Apostolos who's leading the way, and Keanu Alazari who is in that second place, just closing in on him. The cars sounding majestic here around at the Hockenheimring. So 53 1/4 minutes on the clock. You can see 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th and 5th all in a line as they come across the line. So to update you here on this, the Prototype Cup Germany, there is a pit window that will open 22 minutes into the race. It will remain open happen for 10 minutes, and during that time every car will be required to come in for a mandatory stop, and for some of the cars there is a driver change as well. There is a minimum pit stop time of 95 seconds for each car, and then a handicap that is applied, an additional time that the cars will need to be stationary depending on who is driving and what driver combinations that there are. To add to that, there is a 7-second success handicap that is going to be applied to the car in second place, and that's on account of winning last time out in race 2 at Zandvoort. So Keanu Al-Azhari will be stationary in the pits for 7 seconds longer than he normally would. The car that finished second at Zandvoort, being driven by Klaus Abelin, will have an additional 4 seconds applied to his stop, and 2 seconds will be applied to car that finished in third place, and that is Danny Sufi. Now there is a car that's going slowly. That's Sven Bart in the very distinctive Momo Gebhardt Motorsport Ginetta. Looks like he might have a problem. So you can see him going slowly, so clearly some issues there for the number 19 car. So Sven Bart currently circulating slowly around the circuit, and clearly a problem for that Ginetta as he tries to peel the car back into the pit lane potentially. Now he is sharing with Michael Herrick this weekend, and it looks like Michael Herrick is not going to get a race because the car number 90 coming to a stop at the side of the track. Now, is it in a safe place? We're not too sure whether this may bring out a safety car. Meanwhile, at the front, it's Julian Apotelos who's leading from Keanu Al-Azhari. Antti Ramo in third place in the number 14 car. Just behind him is Danny Sufi. You can see the 1, 2, 3, 4 cars running in single file towards the hairpin, which is turn 6 at this legendary circuit. The challenge for third place. There is Antti Ramo. Danny Sufi just tracking his every move. There's the first place car, Julian Apotelos. So at the moment, the gap about 0.6 of a second over second place Keanu Al-Azhari. So Al-Azhari keeping him in his sights. You can see the marshals moving the number 90 car, Sven Bart, to safety. So looks like we should be able to get away without a safety car. But it means that Michael Herrick, who's fighting in the trophy category in the Prototype Cup Germany, will not get a drive. Now look at this for third place. Antti Ramo coming under pressure. Antti Ramo, who took his first ever win in Prototype Cup Germany in race 1 at Zandvoort, coming under pressure from our championship leader, Danny Sufi, who shares the Conrad Motorsport Ligier with Torsten Kratz. And now Danny Sufi closing in on the number 14 car to challenge for that third place. So the 1, 2, 3, 4 very much running together. Keanu Al-Azhari has closed the gap by about a 10th in towards the first place. We're riding on board with Al-Azhari at the moment. You can see Julian Apotelos in the number 8 BWT Muka Motorsport Duqueine DO8 leading the way, but not breaking clear of Keanu Al-Azhari. It is Duqueine versus Duqueine, the two cars that are pretty identical apart from setup. The two cars fighting for the top spot. Now into the pits. That's another car that's come into the pits, and this is not a scheduled stop. So another car into the pits outside of the pit window. So that is the number 7, the car that we welcome here, Data Lab by Rinaldi, with Luca Link at the wheel. And it was really good to welcome Luca Link here. He was in the BMW M2 Cup last year. He's also racing in GT4 Porsche at this event this weekend, but his race has come to a premature end because the number 7 Data Lab by Rinaldi Duqueine is being wheeled into the garage. You can see the smoke coming from it, and that really does look pretty terminal for that car. The team going to have to do a lot of work to get ready for race 2 that is tomorrow. He will be sharing with Suelio Almeida from Brazil, and those two drivers we welcome to Prototype Cup Germany here at the Hockenheimring. So our race leader Julian Apotelos leading the way. Keanu Al-Azhari now 4 tenths behind. They've broken clear of the fight for third place. Antti Ramo just holding off Danny Sufi with 48 minutes remaining of this race, and we've lost 2 cars We've lost the number 7 car with Luca Link at the wheel. We've lost Sven Bart riding on board with Keanu Al-Azari, the driver from the UAE, who has impressed so much here in Prototype Cup Germany. He came so close to taking his first win at Zandvoort last time out. He'd built up a lead of something like 30.5 seconds before the safety car came out, and that was all taken away, and it left him vulnerable, but he made up for it the following day at Zandvoort, taking the win in race 2. So a little mistake there, looked like a mistake, going around turn 6, the hairpin, a really tricky corner to negotiate in these cars, and that's just allowed Julian Apotelos just to break clear a little bit. The gap was 0.4 of a second last time across the line. We'll see what that is as they head in towards turn 12 at the moment, and we'll see what that is when they cross the line next time around. Still, Antti Ramo holding on to that 3rd place with championship leader Danny Sufi just locking a wheel into the corner in towards turn 13. But he's holding it all together still, challenging for the last of the podium positions. Out onto the pit straight they come. Now, will this be an opportunity for Danny Sufi to pick up a slipstream as they come past the pits in towards turn 1? Antti Ramo will have one eye on the mirror, one eye in front, but he's got this covered off into turn 1. He comes, and you can see that mistake from the number 21 car of Keanu Al-Azari has dropped him back about half a second from our race leader. So Julian Apotelos with a little bit of breathing space as a result of the mistake on the hairpin for car 21. So we mentioned that when the clock strikes 22, the pit window will open for 10 minutes. So it will remain open until the 33rd minute of this race. And every car will be required to come into the pits for a mandatory stop. Now, every driver in Prototype Cup Germany is categorized by the FIA. We have bronze drivers, we have silver rated drivers, and we have gold rated drivers. So depending on the driver combination will depend on the minimum pit stop time. There is a 95-second minimum pit stop time for everybody, and then on top of that there is the handicap depending on the driver combination. So our race leader Julian Apotelos, who shares driving duties with Riccardo Cirelli, and Cirelli will be in the seat of the number 8 car in the second stint of this race. They will have an additional 20 seconds added to their minimum pit stop time on account of both drivers being silver rated by the FIA. However, what we saw at Zandvoort, that car there, number 14, it's a solo car, and Antti Ramo is a bronze driver, so there will be no driver change. He will not have any additional time added to his pit stop, so he will be stationary for what will effectively be 20 seconds less than the leading car. The car in second place, that has been driven by Keanu Al-Azari, has an additional 25 seconds for the minimum pit stop time on account of Keanu being a silver rated driver and a solo driver in Prototype Cup Germany. Added to that, he also has the success handicap from the last race of 7 seconds. So he has a monstrous 32 seconds of additional time that he will need to be stationary in the pits for the number 21 car. So you can see why he's pushing hard to make up space this early on in the race. He is about 0.7 of a second back from Julian Apotelos, who has this race very much under control with 44 minutes plus 1 lap remaining. It is Julian Apotelos ahead of Keanu Al-Azari. Antti Ramo holding on to that 3rd place despite immense pressure from Danny Sufi, then Jakob Elbacker, Klaus Abelin, then we've lost Luca Link and Sven Bart, and we had a non-starter in the shape of Marcus Pommer. That is very significant indeed, because coming into this race, Marcus Pommer, the defending champion of Prototype Cup Germany, was only 18 points behind Danny Sufi and Torsten Kratz, who drive the number 2 car. But they are going to have an opportunity to really extend that lead at the top of the championship, because the championship is Danny Sufi and Torsten Kratz in that green and black car that you saw on your screens briefly then, with 106 points. In second place with 88 points, 18 points adrift, was Marcus Pommer and Valentina Catalano, and things remain as they are now. It's going to allow Julian Apotelos and Riccardo Cirelli to potentially leapfrog them in the points championship up into second place, because at the moment They are 31 points adrift of Danny Sufi and Torsten Kratz, who lead this championship. So this race could be very, very significant. There is first and second place. It's still Julian Apostolos and Keanu Alazari. Both of those drivers also competing in the Junior Championship. So Danny Sufi currently leads the Junior Championship with Valentino Catalano in second, but of course Catalano will not be scoring any points because he is not going to get to sit in the number 70 car. In third place in the Junior Championship, it's a tie between Julian Apostolos and his teammate Riccardo Cirelli. And in fourth place in the Junior Championship, Keanu Al-Azari. And he is some 108.5 points back from Danny Sufi in the Junior Championship. So this is all likely to change after this race if these cars remain running. But of course, we still have just over 42 minutes of this race remaining. We are approaching the halfway point of the third season for the Prototype Cup Germany, and we are at the Hockenheimring. It is the sixth race of a 12-race season. And as explained at the top of the broadcast, the Spa-Francorchamps event, which didn't take place because of poor weather at the beginning of April, it means that 2 extra races have had to be slotted into this season. And the good news is it means we get an extra race here at the Hockenheimring. We already had an additional race at the Lausitzring at the seasonal opener. We get an additional race tomorrow. So rather than just 1 race tomorrow, there will be 2, and it will be races 7 and 8 of the season for the Prototype Cup Germany. We're riding on board with Keanu Alazari. Let's just listen to him as we ride on board with him. So the roar of that engine, it is a monstrous roar of the 5.6 litre V8 Nissan engine, naturally aspirated, producing about 455 brake horsepower. They're sealed engines, so all the engines identical in these cars. They sound absolutely spectacular. When you're stood at the side of the track at one of these races starts, the rumble goes through the ground. It is phenomenal. So once again, we listen to the roar of that wonderful engine. The number 21 car for Molnar Motorsport, the Duqueine DOA. Keanu Alazari, the driver who has impressed so much. He's come straight from Formula 4 into Prototype Cup Germany, which is no mean feat, a very different kind of discipline. Currently, he's a 2-times winner in the Formula 4 Spanish Championship. He's won 2 races this year and has proven that he is very competitive. Racing for Molnar Motorsport, and Molnar, who had a shootout to find the youngster who would sit in the seat of that car for this year. And all the costs were paid by their sponsors, H&R. And the result was Keanu Alazari, who won the seat in that car, and Molnar Motorsport encouraging one of the real talents. He got a 4th place in his first ever race in Prototype Cup Germany. He's followed that up with a 6th place, a 5th place, and then, as already mentioned, a 1st place last time out at Zandvoort. He's also had 3 pole positions in the first 5 races, so really a qualifier as well as a racer. We're continuing to look at Julian Apostolos as he circulates in the lead of this race. So first and second, still out on track together at the moment. There is Julian Apostolos in the very distinctive number 8 car. Now there is a car that is driven by something of a legend. The number 30 car for Fricadelli Racing, being driven by the team owner, the legendary Klaus Abelin, who's running in the bronze category. in this race. So the number 30 car currently in 6th place, about 35 seconds back from our race leader, and he who is sharing with Felipe Laza in the number 30 car, and Klaus Abelin, who picked up his first podium of the year in Prototype Cup Germany last time out in Zandvoort. Of course, that will mean the additional 4 seconds stationary in the pits when he hands over to his teammate Felipe Laza. 37.5 minutes remaining, and we look at Klaus Abelin in the Fricadelli Racing number 30 Ligier JSP 320 around the hairpin on this circuit, which is 4.574 kilometers around, with 9 turns, 17 turns even, 9 to the right and 8 to the left, and out towards turn 9 he comes, taken in 2nd gear at about 90 kilometers an hour. Fairly windy part of the circuit around turns 9, 10 and 11. Turns 10 and 11 taken at about 3rd gear at about 145 kilometers an hour as they head into the Hockenheim Motordrome and up towards the Sachs curve. Turn 13 taken in 2nd gear at about 90 kilometers an hour. Then flat out around turns 14 and 15 at about 180 kilometers an hour in 4th gear, and then it's turns 16 and 17. The outside of turns 16 and 17 are very, very slippery as they head out towards the pit straight. It's an area of the track that is used for drag racing for much of the year, and it means there is absolutely zero grip. So if the drivers go wide out of turn 16 and turn 17, they can find themselves spinning around completely out of control. So very careful to keep within track limits on turns 16 and 17. And track limits has certainly been an issue here this weekend. In the free practice and the qualifying sessions, a lot of the drivers have been getting warnings about track limits, and the riot act being read to them by the race director. And with this race so far, we've certainly had no warnings of track limits at this point. Right, that's Felipe Laza in the pits at the moment. And you get the feeling that they may be choosing to pit the Klaus Abelin car quite early on when the pit window opens. We've still got another couple of minutes before that pit window opens. So when the clock strikes 33 to go, that is when the pit window will open. And in that 10-minute window, every car will be required to come into the pits for a mandatory stop, and in some cases for that driver change. And that is where the dynamic of this race is going to very much change. At the moment, Julian Apotelos has extended his lead at the front to 2.5 seconds. And with Keanu Alazari, the solo pilot in car 21, the pit stop is really going to hurt him, because he is going to drop a long way back through the pack when he has that additional 32 seconds added on to his minimum pit stop time. Of course, the race leader will also have the additional time as well, but just not nearly as much. He will be stationary for 115 seconds. Keanu Alazari, who will be stationary for the 120 plus the 7 seconds, 127 seconds of minimum pit stop time for the number 21 car. So there is Klaus Abelin out on the flat out section of the track, the Parabolica. It is turn 4, but the drivers don't lift as they head towards that. Then they're heavy braking in towards the hairpin, a really tricky section of track. Great opportunity to make challenges for position, but also a great opportunity to throw it all away. At the moment, the number 30 car is 42 seconds behind the race leader. In fact, that's just updated now as 28 seconds, because we have some cars heading towards the pit in just a few moments, and the pit window will open for these cars in 25 seconds. The pit window will open, and I get a feeling that car 30 might be coming in quite quickly. Klaus Abelin, he is a legendary driver, but he is bronze rated, and the team will be quite keen to get Felipe Laza, a gold rated driver, into the seat of the number 30 Fricadelli Racing car. So peeling off into the pits, the pit window opening, and he needs to not get to the pit line too early. So into the pit window, the first to blink. There is the pit lane. So taking the earliest possible opportunity to duck into the pits is Klaus Abelin in car number 30, who will be handing over to the only gold-rated driver in this race. Felipe Laza will be on standby. So the minimum pit stop time for car number 30 will be 105 seconds. That is the obligatory 95 seconds plus an additional 10 seconds on account of the driver's been a gold and a bronze. So Klaus Abelin is done for the day. Into the car gets Felipe Laza. No major hurry at the moment. Now Klaus coming back just to help Felipe Laza to get buckled in. Very much a team sport, but limited to how many mechanics are allowed to work on the car. So the outgoing driver is able to help the incoming driver to get themselves installed in the seat of that car. So stationary as the clock ticks down. And of course, he's got to come out a long way back. Now into the pits also comes Keanu Alazari. So the second place car has peeled off into the pits. Now this is going to be a very long pit stop for the Mulner Motorsport Duqueine. He has that 25 seconds additional to the 95 seconds, and he also has the extra 7 seconds on account of winning last time out. Also into the pits, that's Danny Sufi. Now he's going to be jumping out. It will be Torsten Kratz who jumps into the seat of the Conrad Motorsport Ligier. That only needs to be stationary for 105 seconds. So minimum pit stop is done. And Felipe Laza at the wheel of car number 30, rejoining for Fricadelli Racing Team out onto the track. Going to be running a long way back initially, but when everybody else has pitted and has done their mandatory stop, things may well shake out a little bit more in their favour. At the moment, Julian Apostolos is still leading the way, and I would suggest he's probably going to try and go quite late in the window as potentially the quicker of the two. Riccardo Cirelli, a very fast driver from Italy, but a lot less experienced than Julian Apostolos, and it may be the team, BWT Muka Motorsport, will want to extend the amount of time that Apostolos is out on the track and maximise his time. So we've had a few of the cars that have pitted. It is Keanu Alazari, Danny Sufi for Conrad Motorsport, who's now handing over to Torsten Kratz, and of course Luca Link is in the pits, but of course that is because of that mechanical issue that we saw earlier on in the race. There is Felipe Laza in car number 30, currently in 6th place and last place as things stand at the moment. Torsten Kratz now at the wheel of car number 2. You can see the number 21 car slowly dropping down the graphic as he continues with his minimum pit stop time, but now out onto the track he comes. Keanu Alazari rejoining, and he's going to rejoin somewhere not too far away from this car that we're looking at, being driven by Felipe Laza. Our race leader still yet to pit, Julian Apostolos leading the way. Also Antti Ramo in 2nd place, who has a very short pit stop time of just 95 seconds. He's the only driver in this race who has no additional time added apart from the minimum pit stop time. So Antti Ramo making hay while the sun shines, has a clear track in front of him at the moment, albeit 17 seconds back from Julian Apostolos. But when the pit window closes, well, if things stay as they are, that will be reduced to just 7 seconds. So out on track, Felipe Laza, round the hairpin he comes once again in the number 30 Fricadelli Racing car. 2nd place at the moment, Antti Ramo. Right, into the pits comes our race leader, Julian Apostolos, peeling off. Into the pits he comes as we continue to look at Felipe Laza out on track. Our race leader is into the pits. This is going to temporarily hand the race lead over to Antti Ramo in the number 14 car. So Antti Ramo leading the way, but he will still need to make his stop. Julian Apostolos, good job from him. The Swiss driver, who is so strong, shows incredibly well. Has won in Prototype Cup Germany 3 times in the past. Hockenheim, Oschersleben and Nürburgring last year. Has yet to take a first win this year, but with Riccardo Cirelli as his co-driver. A driver who's come straight out of karting and into prototype racing. A massive step for this young driver. But into the seat he comes. Taken over from Julian Apotelos. So Antti Ramo still out on track. Also Jakob Erlbacher still yet to pit in the number 80 car. He's up into 3rd place. Then the first of the stoppers, Keanu Alazzari in 4th place, ahead of Torsten Kratz and Felipe Lazar. And there is Torsten Kratz in that 5th place in the number 2 car. Currently up towards turn 13 at the moment. And then it'll be back out of the final corner, and we will see where the number 8 car rejoins in comparison to car number 2, because the number 8 car with Riccardo Cirelli at the wheel is now moving out of the pits. Out of the pits he comes. It is Antti Ramo who leads the way from Jakob. Then looks like Riccardo, and then Keanu Alazzari. So Keanu Alazzari ahead of Torsten Kratz as they head towards turn 2. Right, into the pits comes the next car, and it's Jakob Erlbacher. Also Antti Ramo into the pits as well. So everybody who needs to pit either has or is currently pitting. Still with 3 minutes remaining in this pit window. And the drivers needed to get in before the pit window closes. They need to cross the entry line into the pits. There is Antti Ramo, the driver who was leading the race, only needs to be stationary for 95 seconds. A much shorter pit stop than those around him, and that is because Antti Ramo is a bronze-rated driver running in the Trophy Championship. Currently leading the Trophy Championship from Torsten Kratz by some 21.5 points, with Klaus Abelin 3rd in the Trophy Championship, and he is 101 points adrift. So the Trophy Championship realistically between 2 drivers, Antti Ramo and Torsten Kratz. And there is Antti Ramo chomping at the bit to get the number 14 car back out onto the track, but he mustn't hit the pit exit line too early. If he does, there will be a penalty incoming. So really important that the team time this just right. It will be back timed. And now the crew giving it a push. They have trouble getting it going out of the pit. So Antti Ramo not able to get it going under his own steam. It sounds as though potentially he's lost the engine in the number 14 car. So now trying to get that car running. This is a disaster for Antti Ramo. He played it really well. And there is a spinner. So just before we saw that pit stop, and that was Torsten Kratz who went spinning in the number 2 car, the Conrad Motorsport Ligier, going spinning. He's able to rejoin it, and that is how Keanu Alazzari has jumped in front. Now, has the number 14 car got running? Yes, he has. He's up around turn 2 at the moment. So problems getting him away. So the luxury of that minimum pit stop time has been effectively cancelled out for Antti Ramo. Wasn't able to get the car moving, had to have a bit of help getting him out of the pit lane. And it means, well, the timing screen is showing him in the lead, but at the moment, we are going to wait for that to refresh before we can get the full lowdown, because according to my calculations, is Riccardo Cirelli who will be leading this once the cars have crossed the start-finish line, which they are about to do now. That's a replay of Cirelli lighting up the tyres. Yes, Antti Ramo, that's how you really wanted to do it. Of course, the engine was running on the number 8 car, so able to rejoin and out into the lead of the race. So confirmation, it is Riccardo Cirelli who leads the way in car number 8, with Keanu Alazzari in 2nd place. Torsten Kratz into 3rd place. Antti Ramo will be thinking about that disastrous pit stop, and will be feeling very because good for potential in a podium position. But now currently running in 6th and last place. So with the pit window done, it is Riccardo Cirelli who leads the way. The pit window is now closed. Riccardo Cirelli, who took over from Julian Apostolos. Cirelli looking for his first ever win in Prototype Cup Germany. Julian Apostolos looking for his 4th ever win in Prototype Cup Germany. In 2nd place, Chiano Al-Azhari, the number 21 car, some 15.5 seconds back. Then Torsten Kratz, despite that spin in the number 2 Conrad Motorsport Ligier, who's taken over from Danny Sufi. In 4th place, Jakob Erlbecker has handed over to Maxim Dirks. Great to have Maxim Dirks from Belgium, another of the silver-rated drivers. And Maxim Dirks at the wheel of that car. That is in 4th place, the number 80 car. And Maxim still looking for his first podium in Prototype Cup Germany. In 5th place, Felipe Lazar. And we're going to keep an eye on him. So Felipe Lazar is about 10 seconds back from Maxim Dirks at the moment. So potentially, in fact, that's just updated, and now that is just 6 seconds back from Maxim Dirks. So keep one eye on Felipe Lazar as he tries to close in on the car in front of him. Maxim Dirks, and that's a gap coming down literally every corner. About 6 to 7 seconds back between 4th and 5th place, but it is the number 8 of Riccardo Cirelli who leads the way, 15.7 seconds ahead of Chiano Al-Azhari. So Chiano Al-Azhari trying to close in on that 2nd place, but 15.7 seconds with 21 minutes remaining of this race, plus 1 lap would be something of a tall order. But of course, we have a long way to go. The car needs to last. The driver needs to keep it pointing in the right direction, and he needs to keep looking after the tyres on that number 8 car. 3rd place, Torsten Kratz, running out on his own at the moment. And in 4th place, Maxim Dirks in the number 80 car. So, very much as you were. Now, a drive-through penalty for car 14 for a pit stop infringement. So that is anti-Ramo. We saw the crew pushing the car up the pit lane, and it might be that they decided that having the crew pushing the car up the pit lane was in breach of the rules. As I said before, the pit stops are very heavily regulated about the number of people that are allowed into the pit lane to work on the car, and it may well be that car 14, the team of car 14, MRS GT Racing, may well have exceeded that, but whichever way, a pit stop infringement, it means a drive-through penalty for car 14. Anti-Ramo will have to come back into the pits. Well, it's not going to make much of a difference because he is in last place at the moment, but it does mean it's going to be a long, long way ahead of him to find 5th place. So keeping to the speed limits, into the pits he comes, 60 kilometers an hour for the number 14 car. So that's going to feel very, very painful. He'll have to pass through the pits. He won't stop at the box, and then as soon as he gets the pit exit line, we'll be back on the accelerator. As I said before, he's in 6th place anyway, which is the last of the running cars. So it's not going to make too much difference for car 14, Anti-Ramo. But it will be frustrating nevertheless. So Anti-Ramo rejoins the driver who had his first ever win at Zandvoort last time out, and his first ever podium in just his 5th race in Prototype Cup Germany, and he rejoins, and now his focus will be on just bringing the car home, keeping it pointing in the right direction, and making sure that he finishes, because the points for 6th place, which are 10 points, will be very valuable to him. So he'll want to just keep the car on the track and bring it home in the points. So running out on his own on the circuit with no real challengers around him in 6th place. You can see that Felipe Lazar in 5th place, is now closing in on the number 80 car of Maxim Direk. So we're likely to have a challenge for 4th place before too long. And then ahead of them, 3rd place, Torsten Kratz, riding on board once again with Keanu Alazari. Once again, I'm just going to stop talking for a bit, just so that you can hear the incredible sound of one of these engines, the Nissan V8 5.6 litre engine. So the rumble of that car as he heads around the circuit, around the motordrome here, and then back out onto the pit straight. He'll come once again. So the number 21 car in that 2nd place, some 14.3 seconds back from the number 8 of Riccardo Cirelli, looking for his first ever win in Prototype Cup Germany. There is the number 80 car of Maxim Direk's Gebhard Motorsport, the team that have 3 cars in Prototype Cup Germany this year, but only one of them still racing. Of course, Marcus Pommer, Valentina Catalano never even took the green flag in this race 6. And then we lost Sven Bartz, and Mikael Herrick never got behind the wheel of the Momo Gebhard Motorsport Ginetta in the distinctive, iconic red and yellow markings. So this is the battle that we're going to be focusing on. Torsten Kratz in the last of the podium positions, homing in on him. Maxim Direk's black and white flag has been shown to our race leader. Riccardo Cirelli has been given a warning for track limits. So we said earlier on, this is not all over until it's over. Yes, he has a 14.3 second lead, but if he exceeds track limits many more times, he may well find himself with a penalty, and that would be a gift to Keanu Alazari. And Alazari will be just trying to push hard to keep the pressure on the leading car, to try and push him into making more of those errors, more of those track limit errors, because a penalty for car number 8 could well hand the race win to car number 21. There he is, running out on his own at the moment. We've got one eye on him, our race leader. We've also got an eye on 3rd place, Torsten Kratz, because he has Maxim Direk's behind him and Felipe Laza just behind him. It is 2.4 seconds back to Maxim Direk's. Now that's down to 1.9. So 4th place, Maxim Direk's in car number 80 for Gebhard Motorsport, closing in on the last of the podium positions. Our race leader, 12.8 seconds. So the gap coming down between 1st and 2nd. The team would have been on the blower. They would have said, watch your track limits, because car 8 under scrutiny from the marshals. Keanu Alazari still pushing hard in 2nd place, looking for his 2nd ever win in Prototype Cup Germany. Once again, car 8 in towards turn 13, the Sachs curve, that legendary corner as part of the Motordrome here at the Hockenheim GP circuit. 14 minutes remaining plus 1 lap of this race 6 of the season for Prototype Cup Germany, the first of 3 races this season. And you can see how close to the white line Riccardo Cirelli is pushing it, trying to keep that car in front. 12.8 seconds, the gap between 1st and 2nd. Maxim Direk's continuing to close in on Torsten Kratz in 3rd place. Our race leader running out on his own at the moment for BWT Muka Motorsport. Right, there is the fight for 3rd place. Torsten Kratz in the green and black car. Maxim Direk's in the predominantly white car with the very lively paintwork. When you look at that up close, it looks something spectacular. And behind him, Felipe Laza. So Felipe Laza, while all this has been going on, has been closing in. So we have a fight for third place that, with 13 minutes remaining of this race, has the potential to kick off. At the moment, Torsten Kratz leading the way, the last of the podium positions. Behind him, though, Maxim Dirks and Felipe Laza. We've got fourth place and fifth place closing in on third. Along the Parabolica, they come absolutely flat out, reaching up to 260 kilometers an hour in fifth gear before the heavy braking of the first gear corner of the hairpin, turn 6. They take that corner about 50 kilometers an hour, then flat out again out of turn 6 towards turn 7. That's also taken flat in towards turn 8, and then once again heavy braking for the left-hander, taken in second gear at about 90 kilometers an hour. Torsten Kratz will have one eye on the mirror now. He knows that his podium position, along with Daddy Sufi, is under threat. To remind you, the black and green car is currently the championship leader in Prototype Cup Germany. They had the additional 2 seconds as a success handicap in the pit stop as well, but there is third, fourth, fifth running together on the track. Car number 2, it's a Ligier in the number 2 car, which is a Ligier. A Duquesne is car number 80. And is a Ligier that is behind him in the hands of Felipe Laza. So the Duquesne in that fourth place, closing in for what could be potentially the last of the podium positions. As things stand at the moment, things are looking pretty solid up front. It's still Riccardo Cirelli leading the way from Keanu Alazari in second place. The gap between first and second is down to 11.1 seconds, but nothing to worry about for Riccardo Cirelli. He just needs to keep it within the track limits, but third place far from over. Potentially looking like the car in third is slower than the one in fourth, and he in turn is slower than the one in fifth. So this field is compressing now directly behind. We can tell you what the gap is, but you can see it with your eyes. It is car number 2 holding on to third place. Torsten Kratz, championship leader. He took over from Danny Sufi. Maxim Dirks in fourth place. He took over from Jakob Elbacker. And directly behind him, Felipe Laza, who took over from Klaus Abelin. It looks to me like Laza is going to try and make a move. So suddenly Maxim Dirks, he wasn't able to get past Torsten Kratz, and having been attacking for the last couple of laps, is now having to look at his mirrors and think about defending. Felipe Laza, the driver who won at the Nürburgring 24-hour race just a couple of years ago, in fifth place, challenging for that fourth place. Maxim Dirks now having to defend. It's allowing Torsten Kratz just to break clear. The pressure is off marginally, but there are still 10 minutes plus 1 lap remaining of this race, the first of 3 races this weekend. Our race leader is Riccardo Cirelli, second Keanu Alazari, third Torsten Kratz, and in fourth place Maxim Dirks under pressure from Felipe Laza. Around turn 2 they come, and out onto the Parabolica. Now this is the fastest part of the track. This is going to be the opportunity for Felipe Laza to potentially pick up a slipstream, but is he a little bit too far back? Yes, he is. So we thought he might make a challenge into the hairpin. It might yet come. Along the Parabolica they come. Felipe Laza will want to be last of the late break as he ducks to the inside. Then he goes back to the outside, trying to sell the dummy. But the car ahead of him with Maxim Dirks at the wheel is not falling for that one. Holding on to that fourth place once again. In towards turn 7, taken flat out. Then it'll be 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. Those corners not really overtaking opportunities. It will be up to turn 17 that Felipe Laza will want to get a good exit and potentially pick up a slipstream as they head along the pit straight. Second place, Torsten Kratz, able to break clear just a little. At the front, Riccardo Cirelli's lead has been reduced to 9.8 seconds. Felipe Laza getting as close as he dare into the Sachs curve, locking up a wheel. Now he doesn't want to flat spot those tyres at this stage of the race. The vibrations will be going through the whole car if he has a big flat spot. Now out of turn 17, out along the pit straight. Is this an opportunity? Felipe Laza tucked up behind Maxim Dirks, but not close enough into turn one. All of this allowing Torsten Kratz to break clear of this fight. Torsten Kratz in that third place. Quite happy for Felipe Laza and Maxim Dirks to scrap amongst themselves, because as long as they're doing that, it's working to his advantage. How much longer can Maxim Dirks hold on? Black and white flag has been shown to Maxim Dirks for disrespecting track limits. So car number 80 has been shown a black and white flag. He needs to be careful as he looks to defend that fourth place and attack for the third place. Once again towards the hairpin. Still nothing happening from Felipe Laza. Out of the hairpin they come. Now Laza has been looking very strong in this sector of the circuit, but overtaking opportunities are few and far between on this part of the track. But Felipe Laza is no respecter of that. Into turn 8, the left-hander, now 9 and 10. Third, fourth, fifth, running nose to tail. 7 minutes plus 1 lap remaining of this race 6 of the season for Prototype Cup Germany 2024. At the front, Riccardo Cirelli leads the way from Keanu Alazaru by 9.3 seconds. At least that's what it was last time across the line. At the moment, they're heading along the parabolica towards the hairpin, but this, some 3/4 of a lap back, is the battle for third place. Torsten Kratz still holding on. Maxim Dirks, great stuff despite the warning for track limits in that fourth place. Fifth place, still Felipe Laza. Has Laza taken too much out of the tyres? Has he got anything else left? He looks to the outside into turn 2. And still, Dirks has him covered off. Again, that's allowing Torsten Kratz just to break clear. Now, the fastest part of the circuit. Out along the parabolica. Is Felipe Laza going to try and sell the dummy to Maxim Dirks? Will he look to the inside? Yes, he does. Will he duck to the outside? No, he won't. There's a gap on the inside, under braking into the hairpin. And it's Felipe Laza. Can he get it slowed down? Yes, he can. Now, Laza is through into fourth place. Maxim Dirks relegated down into fifth place. Now, with 5 3/4 minutes remaining plus 1 lap, what can Felipe Laza do about Torsten Kratz? He locks up a break into turn 8. Now Torsten Kratz will not be happy about the fact that Felipe Laza has found a route through, because as long as he was challenging Maxim Dirks, it was allowing Kratz to break clear. But now Kratz suddenly has the number 30 car looming in his mirrors. Felipe Laza, the driver, along with Klaus Abelin, who finished in second place in the last race, now closing in on that third place, looking for silverware, the last of the podium positions. Out of turn 17, they come once again onto the pit straight. The race leader, his gap is down to 8.7 seconds, but with 5 minutes remaining, that should be enough to see him take the top step of the podium, as long as he doesn't pick up a penalty. Once again, Maxim Dirks, well, he's not given up, has he? Felipe Laza doesn't have it easy. He can see the number 80 car in his mirrors closing in. Felipe Laza in that fourth place, though, setting about Torsten Kratz. Now, Laza having to defend a little bit, and again, that's going to help Torsten Kratz in the last of the podium positions. For Conrad Motorsport, the championship leader, out along the parabolica towards the hairpin. Felipe Laza has closed in. You can see the gap under braking. They've pulled away from Maxim Dirks just a little, but 4 1/4 minutes plus 1 lap of this race remaining. First and second place looking fairly solid, but third place far from decided. In towards turn 8 we come once again, locking up a break but keeping it all together. You can see how hard Felipe Laza is pushing in the Fricadelli Racing number 30 car. The last of the podium positions just ahead of him. It is still Torsten Kratz. Needs every point he can get. He cannot afford to let this one end up in the gravel trap, because he and Danny Sufi are leading the championship, but it's not by a country mile, with Marcus Pommer missing from this race and his teammate Valentino Catalano. This is an opportunity for them to extend their championship lead, so he doesn't want to be taking risks holding on to that third place. And along the pit straight, once again they come in towards turn one. To remind you, coming into this race, Danny Sufi and Torsten Krass were leading the championship 18 points ahead of Marcus Pommer and Valentino Catalano. Pommer and Catalano will score no points in this race, having not started it. In third place in the championships, Julian Apostolos and Riccardo Cirelli. So if things finish as they are now, they will close in on the championship leaders of Sufi and Kratz. But Sufi and Kratz need to score the points. A non-finish now would hand a real advantage to that car there. Riccardo Cirelli, Julian Apostolos still leading the way, 7.9 seconds over Keanu Alazari. Alazari 47 points back from the lead in the championship in 6th place, but very much a contender. And with another 6 races still to go in this season, certainly not out of contention. 2.25 minutes plus 1 lap remaining of this race 6 of the season for Prototype Cup Germany. It is Riccardo Cirelli and Julian Apostolos who lead the way in this race. 31 laps in the bag. 7 seconds behind Keanu Alazari, closing in, but not enough to do anything about the lead if things remain as they are. But third place, far from decided. Torsten Kratz, he's dug deep. He's found something in the Conrad Motorsport number 2 car, because he looks to have held off the attentions of Felipe Laza for the time being. But what has Laza got lined up in the closing stages of this race? Maxim Dirks had not given up on stealing back that 4th place. You see him in the background flashing the lights. 90 seconds of timed racing plus the 1 lap for this car here. Leading the way for BWT Mucker Motorsport, Riccardo Cirelli. Leading the way, 7 seconds from Keanu Alazari. Alazari, the leading junior driver. Torsten Kratz, the leading trophy driver. Torsten Kratz, who is bronze rated, I can remind you of that, doing a phenomenal job holding on to that 3rd place. Then it's Felipe Laza, Maxim Dirks, and after that drive-through penalty, some 26.5 seconds back is Antti Ramo in 6th place. So 55 seconds plus 1 lap remaining. So it's going to be another 2 laps remaining of this race, because when the clock strikes 0, the race leader will complete the lap that he's on, and then it will be 1 more lap after that. And you get the feeling that Felipe Laza has not given up on a podium position quite yet. Suddenly the heat is back on to Torsten Kratz, but if Laza tries to make a move and it doesn't stick, you know that Maxim Dirks will be there in an instant to fill any gaps that might appear in front of them. For all of these drivers, it is critical for their championships that they bring it home, they score points, that they don't end up in the gravel trap. So at the moment, Riccardo Cirelli is up to the hairpin. Keanu Alazari about 6.5 seconds behind him, and the clock strikes 0 in 3, 2, 1 now. So the clock strikes 0, so it will be whatever remains of this lap, and then 1 more for that car there. The number 8 car that is provided by the legendary BWT Mucker Motorsport team, the Duqueine D08. It started off with Julian Apostolos at the wheel from pole position. Riccardo Cirelli taking over after the pit stop sequence. He's had a black and white flag for disrespecting track limits, but that is just a warning at the moment. But he needs to keep it between the lines for the last lap and a quarter of this race. Race 6 of the season. Second place, Keanu Alazari, just a little bit too far back to do anything about it. He had that monstrously long pit stop. Now out onto the pit straight we come once again to take the last lap board. In third place, the fight still rages on. It's still Torsten Kratz, and still Felipe Laza in 4th. Maxim Dirks in 5th place, running 3rd, 4th, 5th, all in a row. The last lap of the race. Can Felipe Laza do anything to get on the podium? Maxim Dirks still not giving up on this. He would dearly love there to be a challenge that would see the 2 cars get together in front of him. Now Felipe Laza, you can see how hard he is pressing around turn 13, locking up a brake once again. You get the feeling the tyres of that car are absolutely shot. He's locked it up so many times, extracting everything out of the rubber. But we're now on to the last lap along to the pit straight for the very last time for these three cars. They head in towards turn one. Felipe Laza and Torsten Kratz, they've broken clear of Maxim Dirks behind them. Dirks perhaps deciding that discretion is the better part of valor in that 5th place. At the moment, our race leader heading into turn 12 for the very last time, and then up towards the Sachs curve. So Riccardo Cirelli, the driver who made his debut in the Prototype Cup Germany this year, his very first time in this car this season, and sharing with Julian Apostolos, and now leading the way out of turn 17, out onto the pit straight. It's gonna be a first ever win for Riccardo Cirelli, a 4th win for Julian Apostolos. That will mountain up the championship. In 2nd place is gonna be Keanu Alazzari, some 5.1 seconds behind, and after an epic battle, Torsten Kratz, the bronze rated driver, looks to have held off the attentions of Felipe Laza. It's going to be Torsten Kratz. He's still got a little way to go, so we better not speak too soon. Still a couple more corners to go. Torsten Kratz into turn 13. Felipe Laza putting the pressure on all the way around 14, 15 and 16, and again Laza locking up a break. That was his last challenge out of turn 17 to take the last of the podium positions. Boy, did he have to fight for that. Torsten Kratz in that 3rd place. Felipe Laza, he worked hard in 4th place ahead of Maxim Dirks. But no disputing our race winners, Riccardo Cirelli and Julian Apostolos in the BWT Mucka number 8 car. A solid drive. So the BWT car on the cool down lap, and there will be celebrations as they take their first win of the season. They'd had a 2nd place at the Lausitzring, they'd had a couple of 3rd places also at the Lausitzring. Zandvoort did not turn up the way they would have liked it, but for Riccardo Cirelli, the young driver who was just 16 years old in February, so just turned 16 years old in February, came from karting, and 4 years ago it all started with his mother asking Peter Mucka at Mucka Motorsport whether her son could sit in the car. They stayed in contact after that, Peter Mucka and Riccardo Cirelli, and this is how it's all turned out, with him sitting in the seat of the BWT Mucka car and taking his first ever win. Julian Apostolos, a driver that we've seen in ADAC GT4, we've seen him in ADAC TCR Germany, but he's really shone in Prototype Cup Germany, and we're along with Riccardo Cirelli, such a potent combination of drivers taking their first win of the season here at the Hockenheimring on this, the first of the 3 races. So there is Riccardo Cirelli, and you can see how delighted he is as he climbs from the car. Keanu Alazzari, though, hats off to him, he kept the pressure on for the whole time in that 2nd place, despite a pit stop that was almost measured in hours rather than minutes. And there is Cirelli receiving congratulations, and a solid drive for 3rd place. Torsten Kratz absolutely wringing the neck of the Ligier JSP 320 for Conrad Motorsport, along with Danny Sufi. He climbs from the car and he'll feel like he earned that one. He had to work hard and to hold off the pressure from a former Nürburgring 24-hour champion of Felipe Laza is no mean feat. Thumbs up from Felipe Laza, great comradeship. We have a quick look at those tyres, which are pretty shot, I should think, after such a hard-fought battle. So as we look at the Hockenheimring in the sunshine, perfect conditions, and we reflect on 34 laps of Prototype Cup Germany that saw Riccardo Cirelli take the win ahead of Keanu Alazari. Torsten Kratz, the leading trophy driver, ahead of Felipe Lazar, Maxim Dirks and Antti Ramo. Luca Link and Sven Bart were non-finishers. So car number 7, the data lab by Rinaldi Racing, not the comeback to Prototype Cup Germany that they were hoping for. Sven Bart, who also pulled out at the start of the race. And of course, the defending champion, Marcus Pommer, along with Valentino Catalano, did not even start the race. So that a fairly disastrous day for them. And that is going to put them very much on the back foot for the rest of this championship. So, a really entertaining race. In the race 6 of Prototype Cup Germany. Race 7 will be tomorrow morning, and race 8 will be later on tomorrow afternoon. Just confirming the times for those. Tomorrow morning, race 7 of the season will be at 10:35 local time. For joining us in the UK, that'll be at 9:35. We'll be on air about 5 minutes before that. Then the third race of the weekend will be at 3:15 local time, 2:15 UK time, as we look forward to races 7 and 8 of this 12 race season for the Prototype Cup Germany. To remind you, we have the extra race as a result of round 1 being cancelled. There was snow on the ground at Spa-Francorchamps, so the event couldn't go on as a result of that, and the 2 races had to be slotted into the calendar. We had an additional race at Lausitzring. We get an additional race at this legendary circuit in the Rhine Valley near Hockenheim. As we look, it's a great perspective that is. That's looking down from turn 9, and you can see the hairpin up in the top corner. So, a thoroughly entertaining race. Let's have a look at some of the highlights from this race 6 of the Prototype Cup Germany. Even have the car alongside him with Marcus Pommer at the wheel, and there's a Potolos who took control, Keanu Alazari, keeping him honest in the early stages of the race. We lost Sven Bart in the Momo Gebhardt Motorsport car, and we also lost other cars as the race went on, but it was Julian Potolos who continued to lead the way. He handed over to Riccardo Cirelli at the pit sequence. We also saw Danny Sufi and Torsten Kratz, the Conrad Motorsport car of number 2 car, having a little spin as well. But at the end of the race, what a battle this was for third place. It was Torsten Kratz holding off initially Maxim Dirks and then Felipe Lazar, and it was Riccardo Cirelli who came to take his first ever win in Prototype Cup Germany. And what a spectacular fight for the podium positions that was. And certainly this moves Julian Potolos and Riccardo Cirelli right back into championship contention after a difficult start to the season, with Marcus Pommer and Valentino Catalano not starting this race, therefore scoring 0 points. The championship is suddenly alive and kicking. It does allow Torsten Kratz and Danny Sufi to extend their lead at the front ahead of Pommer and Catalano, but they now have Cirelli and Potolos hot on their heels. Keep an eye on the ADAC Prototype Cup Germany website, the Creventic websites, to keep ahead of what is happening with the points situation in the Prototype Cup Germany, because of course it's all to play for. There were 75 points on offer this weekend, 25 points in each race, as we look along the pit straight as the next event of this wonderful ADAC race weekend lines up. ready to go. We're hoping we might be able to bring you a podium ceremony before too long. Just waiting for confirmation on that, which is why we're just currently looking down the pit straight here at Hockenheim. Excuse me, but still lots to play for this weekend. We've already had qualifying for race 2 and race 3 of the weekend for Prototype Cup Germany, and Riccardo Cirelli Riccardo Cirelli will be starting on pole position. So we're not able to bring you the podium ceremony, I'm afraid. So this is where we will conclude our broadcast for this race 6 of the Prototype Cup Germany weekend. So much more to come. Join us tomorrow, 10:35 local time, for race 7 of the season, race 2 of the weekend for Prototype Cup Germany. We'll see you tomorrow.
In diesem Rennen, Mücke Motorsport, Startnummer 8, Duquesne, D08 für Riccardo Leone Cirelli und Julien Apotelos. Bitteschön, die Sieger an diesem Samstag.